Good evening and welcome back to the Celtic Way, where we were discussing Celtic 4, Motherwell nil. I'm John McGinley. I'm joined by Ryan McGinley, who's outside Celtic Park for us right now. Ryan, we'll just get your immediate thoughts on the game. How did you feel that went from a Celtic's perspective?
Tale of two halves, or about tale of 43 minutes, and then the rest of the game was pretty good. Up until that penalty, I thought Celtic were a bit turgid in the game. They were trying to shake off those cobwebs, I think. I think they were still sort of trying to get over those drop points against Dundee United. But I felt once that penalty went in, and once the second half started and the game opened up a little bit, and Celtic were absolutely brilliant in some moments of the game. I thought, especially in the second half, some of their football was really, really good. And I think there's a lot of food for thought with regard to the subs that came on today as well.
Mm-hmm.
The players that I thought there was in particular some really good players that started today. Like Engels had a really good game. Tony Ralston had a good game at right back, two centre backs. But the players that came on the pitch as well, such as Rio Hatate, Nicholas Kuhn, they've given the manager plenty of food for thought. But a successful day, no injuries by the looks of it. Touch wood and 4 goals and 3 points. Can't complain, can you?
Can't complain. Yeah, it was a stodgy first half. It was difficult. We kind of thought that Motherwell would make it difficult for Celtic to break them down. The penalty comes via, Yang getting taken out by the Motherwell goalkeeper in the box. Arne Engels sticks away, as he seems to always do from the penalty spot. And that gave Celtic, the confidence that they needed. They came out in the second half with a much improved performance. Got the second goal through Dies and Maeda. Arne Engels with the ball into the box, flicked on by Liam Scales. Maeda couldn't miss. And then, from the hour mark, I think, as you mentioned, the substitutes had a big impact on the game. Nicholas Kuhn with the deflected shot to get, his goal tally up for the season again. And then Ray Hotate with arguably the goal of the game, or inarguably perhaps, with a nice finish from around 15 yards. So it was an all-round good performance. And just touching on the substitutes there, I mean, I think something like that's a result of the hard work put in by the starting 11 into that first hour, because they dominated possession, they dominated territory. And though the first half wasn't Celtic at their creative free flowing best that we've seen at points this season, it does help tire that Motherwell team, and it helps the players come into that game in the second half and make a positive impact. I thought Ray Hotate was especially a beneficiary of that, really finding space between the Motherwell defensive lines. So pretty comprehensive victory all in, never looked in doubt. And it was an improvement on Tannadice, undoubtedly. Celtic not quite at their best in that first half, but undoubtedly a step up from Tannadice. And then, the second half put a smile on every supporter's face.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments in the second half where it was just very good to watch. And this is the thing, both teams have 5 subs that they can use. It just so happens that Celtic have better players than Motherwell, and that's going to be the case. You're going to tire players out, and you can bring on the quality that Celtic have got. Listen, if you're bringing on Luke McCowan, if it was the other side, Luke McCowan would be arguably Motherwell's best player, and Celtic can bring him on for the last 10, 15 minutes. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant when he came on as well. His first touch was there. He was trying to make things happen. There was a great move towards the end of the game, although I'm not sure if Luke McCowan was involved in it fully. But there was great one-touch football, and it came to Hatate, and it was deflected at the end. And it was just really good football from Celtic. I think from the 60th minute to the 90th minute, once those subs were made, once there was that injection of dynamism in the forward lines, and Nicholas Kuhn and Rio Hatate respectively, and Kyogo too, because one of the first things he did was press the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper kicked it out for a throw-in. That's the tempo. That's what you want to see from Kyogo. Bringing on those players after 60 minutes, these Motherwell players that were getting tired after playing against Ida and Bernardo, etc., for the first hour, then they've got to contend with Kyogo, McCowan, Hatate, etc., Kuhn. It's just stars coming off and stars coming onto the pitch. Celtic should be using that to their advantage, and they did today. I didn't think that 4-0 flattered Celtic at all, because they had complete dominance for the 90 minutes. I looked at the stats in the first half. They did. It was a turgid first half, but they still had 82% possession. They had I think it was over 400 passes and 9 shots, 3 on target. Their XG was something like 1.3. So, I mean, a lot of that will be down to the fact that a penalty is a high scoring expected goal chance, but they did have other chances in that first half too. yeah, I'm delighted with the way that game went, particularly the second half. It was a much needed sort of confidence booster that Celtic got those goals that were required in the game. I know they get goals against Rangers, but to get those goals and keep the clean sheet at the other end, and Kasper Schmeichel wasn't even tested. So it was a perfect day at the office in all areas for Celtic.
A nice confidence boost for Annie Engels. You know, a lot of chat around Annie Engels. Of course, it comes with a price tag. It just comes with the reality of, the nature of how he arrived at Celtic. I don't think today was like a dominating performance from Engels. It wasn't like he didn't take the game by the scruff of the neck and absolutely, railroad Motherwell. But it was a very effective performance, and it was a step towards what we want to see Arne Engels produce consistently. And that consistency will ultimately be the main event in terms of judgments on him. But it was a nice confidence boost today. He gets the penalty. He always looks. He never looks like he's going to miss from the penalty spot, and then he delivers that cross in from the set piece that leads to the second goal as well. So it's nice to see him make the kind of impact that we want to see him make on a consistent basis. And I thought he was probably his best performance for a few weeks, I would suggest.
Yeah, in terms of putting it all together, I think it was his best performance in a wee while for Celtic, which was good, and it's come in good time as well. Probably puts him in the starting lineup for St Johnstone on Sunday as well. I wouldn't take him out of the team, especially since he got the stadium announcers man of the match as well. Although I think there was another few contenders that could have easily got that award today. I would even give it to some of the defenders, despite it being a 4-0 display. I thought they were that good at the back, though. When it's 4-0, it's gonna take like a Kasper Schmeichel-esque performance to get yourself a man of the match. No complaints there if there's multiple nominees for a man of the match award. But Engels, I think it's good for his confidence. He's clearly a good player. Everybody knows that he's a good player. I think there's just that frustration that he doesn't show it every game, or he doesn't dominate every game. The price tag will come into that because he's fallen in the footsteps of Matt O'Reilly, who certainly last season at least he was dominating games in that midfield. He was a one man wrecking machine, both defensively in terms of getting the ball back and scoring goals at the other end too. So he was a very, very effective player. But Engels is slowly but surely getting back to that level that we know that he can get. And I'm delighted with his performance today because a couple of really nice touches. I think there's the beginnings of a partnership between himself and Bernardo, because in the future, in the next 1, 2, 3 years, that's the sort of partnership that I want to see in the midfield. I want to see those two starting most games together and understanding their patterns and the way that they play alongside Callum McGregor. So I quite like that midfield. I like the way that it was working for the first 60 minutes. Bernardo came off and Hatate came on, and he just showed how dynamic he can be in the middle of the park. When Hatate plays well, Celtic play well. He's that sort of player, and I thought that was as good a 30 minutes as you'll see from Hatate. Really, really strong stuff. Not just his goal, which was a well taken goal and the best goal of the day, but also what he was doing on the ball. He's making things happen, and he's just a nuisance. And everything that he does seems to be positive when he's in that frame of mind. So yeah, I was delighted with his contribution as well.
Yang had an opportunity to impress again. We talked about it pre-match on the team news reaction. Again, I think the effort's not in doubt when it comes to Yang. He's always trying to get on the ball. He's always trying to make something happen. He's always trying to make the run to support teammates. Again, though, his kind of touch and maybe his final ball just wasn't quite there, and that's really what we're waiting for from him. But he wins the penalty, and little doubt about the penalty. And he's totally wiped out by Oxborough. There's no. I think they reviewed it on VAR for some reason, but it was a clear-cut penalty, as clear-cut as you day. Arguably, Celtic could have had another one. I think Balmer potentially handballed the ball. Potentially handballed, about 10 minutes before that. It seemed to graze his hand from the replays I saw, but they didn't give it. I don't know if it was inconclusive or not enough evidence. But what did you make of Yang today, and how did you feel? Do you think he took his opportunity, or are you waiting for more from him?
I mean, we did get something tangible, and that's the thing that we were looking at pre-game. We needed something to happen for Yang in the game, and he did win the penalty. So it kind of is an assist in a way, because he's managed to get Engels the penalty. I'll take that. I'll take whatever positive I can get from that. But another frustrating performance. Apart from that, there was so many moments in which you're like, he did show that. I mean, at the start of the game, he makes a good run at the beginning. He takes 2 or 3 players out of the game, and he must be showing that in training. I know that Celtic are down to the bare bones in the wing positions, and thankfully Maeda got a goal from that position too. But there's moments that he's shown that he can beat a man, and he can show that pace and get to the byline. But too often the delivery's not there, or he'll be careless on the ball and give the ball away, or he'll run it out of the park, and all of a sudden you can hear the groans in and around Celtic Park, and it's not great, because the player will hear that as well. If I can hear it in the stand, and the player certainly will, if he's on the pitch, and then he hears the sort of disgruntled supporters that want him to do well, but it's difficult when he's playing the ball out of play. The thing is, and you know, Maeda does the same thing. It's just Maeda makes up for it with his defensive work. You take the good with the bad with Maeda, and he scored today, and he also showed good defensive work. There was a couple of moments that he played the ball out of the park, or his cross was too hard. He seems to have that cross every single game that he puts it out the park, when really he should be more composed in that area. So they were both guilty of it, but unfortunately for Yang, he doesn't have that same defensive mentality that Maeda has, and unfortunately, you did see the difference. Or fortunately for Celtic, but unfortunately for Yang, you see the difference once Kuhn comes on the park, because he takes that chance. He shoots early. He doesn't care that it's going to get a deflection. He takes the chance. He takes that. He buys a ticket for the lottery, and he gets his prize, rather than another couple of touches, which is what maybe Yang would have done. He's not as clinical in those areas. So Kuhn automatically comes on and shows why he is the starting right winger at this point in time, because he's got the ability to affect games positively like that.
Yep, Adamida also, he had a moment in the first half where he sets up Diaz Almeida for the best chance of Celtic's opening period. It didn't get his goal, but he was trying to impact the game. He was trying to make something happen, and that's what you want from Adamida. The second goal comes from Liam Scales flicking on a corner right into the path of Diaz Almeida, who couldn't miss. A good game from Liam Scales today. I thought that Celtic very defensively sound today. Didn't give Motherwell a sniff, and Liam Scales showing again that he's a threat from those set pieces when the ball is right, and he has good timing on his run. Maeda takes it great. Maeda could have had 2 or 3 today, but gets his goal again and shows that he is an effective finisher for Celtic this season. All in.
I think that's him now level with his best ever goal scoring total with Celtic so far, and he's only half a season in, and he's got 11 goals. I think 11 was his best, so if he gets one more, then he's in his best goal scoring season for Celtic, which shows that he's more effective now in terms of getting goals. That was one of the big things, him getting signed from Yokohama F. Marinos back in 2022, because his goal scoring was there under Ange Postecoglou when the two were together at Yokohama. Now he's shown that goal scoring prowess. He can play through the middle, but he can also be effective out on the wing, which is his regular position. It was one of those ones that he could have missed it. It was that much of a tap in that you wouldn't put it past Maeda to put it over the bar. But he's there at the right time, and he gets that goal, which is absolutely brilliant to see. And it was a great header. 2 really good headers, a good delivery into the box from Engels. Scales is so dominant in the air for Celtic. I think he's arguably Celtic's best headerer of the ball in terms of a defensive player. He wins everything in the air. It's a great flick on, and then Maeda can't miss. Thankfully, he doesn't miss, and he gets his goal for his hard work on the day. But delighted for the two defenders, and all of a sudden there seems to be healthy competition once again in that centre back position, because you've got Liam Scales playing well. You've got Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's back in form. You've also got a £6 million defender on the bench in Austin Trusty that's waiting to come back. That's healthy. That's healthy competition in the back line that can only mean good things for Celtic on the defensive end, and going forward in set pieces too.
Nicholas Kuhn. Good to see there's no issues with Nicholas Kuhn's knee, because obviously didn't appear at all against United at Tannadice. A little bit concerned he's not in the starting lineup again, but on the bench, ready to come into the game, ready to show what he's all about again. Another goal for him, although took a wicked deflection, would be the description of that one. But great to see him ready. He's ready to start now, so you'll probably start at the weekend, and then he'll be more than ready for the derby against Rangers. So fantastic to see that there's no lingering issue with his knee, and that he's ready to perform again.
Arguably Celtic's most important player in an attacking sense. Look at the numbers, double digits in goals and assists already this season. So he's so important to everything that Celtic bring on the front foot. And yeah, he gets a deflection, but he takes a chance, and he gets the reward, because it's a mighty deflection off the player into the back of the net. But it'll still count as his goal. He'll definitely be claiming it. He just felt confident whenever Kuhn came onto the pitch today that he was going to make an impact. You can see it. He's a guy that he's very much a confidence player, but he's on top of his game. Even the way he was running onto the pitch, he's got a bit of an aura about him. I think he knows now that he's the main man at Celtic, and he definitely portrays that sort of character. He's well built. He's definitely a different player than what he was at the start of the year. You think of what he was like when he joined. Obviously, there was some underlying issues to do with his teeth and his dental surgery, etc., which caused him to lose weight. But he looks in such good condition at the moment, despite missing a couple of games. And yeah, he made a difference when he came on. He looked as if he was going to cause danger every time he was on the park or on the ball, and he got his goal, which was brilliant. I would start him against St Johnstone on Sunday ahead of
Oh yeah,
Rangers.
yeah, of course, yeah. I think he needs to start again just to fully warm up for that derby. And then, of course, we've talked about it. We don't need to go too in depth on it. But Real Tate with the best goal of the game, big impact from the bench. And all the substitutes as you've talked about at the start there, having an impact. And again, that was a result as well of Motherwell tiring in, not being in the game. There was more space, and Rodgers put on the right players to exploit that space. 17 games now unbeaten in the Scottish Premiership this season. It's a remarkable run. 15 wins, 2 draws, and suddenly, and I think this was overblown actually in the wake of Tannadice of Celtic's blip or Celtic coming unstuck. It was all a bit contrived, that narrative for me, and just showing again that Celtic are not letting anything slip. There's no real decline in Celtic. I mean, for goodness sake, it's 17 games unbeaten in the Premiership. They're getting the points they need to amid this hectic schedule, and Rodgers still has them on the right track despite dropping points for just the second time on Sunday. There's no real decline in the way Celtic are heading, as far as I'm concerned. Would you concur with that?
Yeah, I think today was the confidence booster that Celtic needed, though, to believe in themselves once again, that they are still that same team, that dominating team when they want to be, and when they're playing at their best, then they can hurt teams. And Celtic in some moments of the game didn't really get out of second gear, but they're strong enough that they can just overpower opposition just by having better players than them. Unfortunately, that's the case for Motherwell. Them's are the breaks sometimes with when you've got good players on the park. You've got Hatate coming onto the pitch, who not just his goal but his overall play was really solid, and he had a point to prove, because I think he was annoyed with how he played against Dundee United, but he came on with a bit of a freedom and a willingness to do well in the middle of the park, and he was getting in really good positions, some really nice passes, and a good goal to top it all off. But yeah, I think, of course, it was overblown, but that's what you're going to get at Celtic, unfortunately. If Celtic
Yeah.
don't win every game, then it's a crisis. But, they've only dropped points twice this season, and in both games they should have won it, probably convincingly, against the two sides that they played against. You're not going to go through a complete season winning every single game. Not even the Invincibles managed that in 2016, 2017. But it's all about the strength of character when you do have an adverse result, or a result that maybe you didn't expect, to what you do in the next game. And Celtic answered the critics today, or whatever critics there are, to show that it wasn't a blip at all. It was just a bump in the road to that inevitable conclusion that we're hoping to all get to by the end of the season. 4 goals, clean sheet. Kasper Schmeichel had nothing to do. Defence was great, midfield was good, and Celtic are scoring goals from the wings as well. So not too many complaints about today. Not bad for a Boxing Day fixture. Potential bump in the road has been averted, and you now move on to Sunday against St Johnstone, who get beat today. So you would fancy them against the bottom side in the Premiership at the moment.
Yeah, it's nice for the fans to have a couple of home games at this time of year. It's good for the team to have that as well, and kind of regroup. As is well established, there's no January break this year, so it's important that Celtic just keep in the groove and keep this kind of machine rolling on. Really, it's an unbeatable machine domestically. Like, that's undeniable at the moment. That is literally how the season has panned out so far, and I think you have to give real credit to Celtic and to Brendan Rodgers and the team for maintaining that. That's what you want from a day like today. You want a routine win that Motherwell didn't really ever have a chance of winning or even drawing. Celtic had full control of the match, as he said, over 80% possession. I don't know if that was like that at the end of the 9 minutes, but certainly for large swathes of the game, that was the stat, going permeating through the 90 minutes. So yeah, no complaints at all. Celtic move on, have big challenges ahead, and we'll see how Celtic go into the new year. But I think it's clear that Celtic they're not going to take their eye off the ball. All this thing will they let a lead slip? I just don't see that kind of thing happening, because even if there is a slight dip in performance, I think Celtic are going to pick up the points and get the points needed to keep whoever's in second place at touching distance. And hopefully we see that again. And everyone's going to be talking about the derby, I know, but there's another game before that. And I think picking up these home wins will be so crucial. If you drop points in one of these home games, it can cost you down the line. But Celtic just don't look like releasing any control in these matches whatsoever, and that's what's so fantastic to see.
Absolutely. Just looking at the stats here on FOTMob, it's 84% possession. It's actually increased in the second half. 3.78 expected goals to Motherwell's 0.28. 23 shots to Motherwell's 2. 7 on target to Motherwell's 0. 6 big chances to Motherwell's 0. 813 accurate passes. That's not just passes attempted, that's accurate passes. That's 93% of their passes were successful today. Funnily enough, the same amount of fouls between the two sides, which seems a bit lopsided to me, given that Celtic were on the ball for large parts of the game. I thought the officiating was a bit poor today. I mean, and now is probably the perfect time after a 4-0 game. Especially, there was a moment in the first half, now I've not seen it back, but Dyson Maeda, does he not get kicked in the head? And then there's a foul given the other way. It was a chance. It was right after that one in which Maeda's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper saves it with his feet. It goes up in the air, and then it kind of falls to him. It's a bit of a mess. I'd need to see it again, but from where I was sitting, it looked as if the Motherwell player booted Maeda in the head, and then it was a foul given the other way for a Stramash after that incident had happened. It was a bit of a weird one, but it's little things that I'm moaning about 4-0. We're chasing perfection at the end of the day, but I'm not going to complain about the end result because we got the result that we needed.
Yeah, Maeda certainly showed a bit of bravery in that moment, and then I think the Bernardo gets called for a foul just after it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, the VAR check on the penalty that Yang won was a bit odd because it seemed clear cut to me. But we're all good. Celtic are moving on. I think we'll wrap up the show now, Ryan. I think we've got Tony and Hamish back on for the morning briefing tomorrow, which is fantastic. Celtic way getting right back into the daily output. You've been at Celtic Park, you'll be heading home, and we'll have more analysis of the game on the website tomorrow, and plenty more stuff over the coming week. As Celtic, the matches continue thick and fast, everyone. It's not. There's no big gap between matches now until February, so the matches are going to come every 3 or 4 days, which is fantastic from our perspective, fantastic from supporters' perspective. So it's all happening. Ryan, any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I just hope that everybody's had a really good festive break. They've enjoyed all the stuff that's been on, whether that's spending time with your families, watching stuff on the telly. But now the real stuff is back. The football is back, and now it's only just under 3 days until the next game as well. So they come thick and fast, but we wouldn't want it any other way. And thank you to everybody that's joined us both on the website and on the briefings and pre and post match videos. We really do appreciate it. Thanks to each and every one of you.
Fantastic to see people joining us live or catching up with us later on Boxing Day with all sorts of stuff going on around this time of year. So it's fantastic to have everyone joining us. We really do appreciate it. And we'll catch you again. As I say, Hamish and Tony will be back tomorrow with more Celtic chat, all the latest news coming out of Celtic Park, and we'll have lots more on the Celtic Way website as well. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Ryan. We'll see everyone again. Enjoy your night.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.